Hi class, welcome to chapter 13. Today we're going to be covering global advertising, which is the last P of the 4 P's of marketing. One of the last P's, because we're gonna also do chapter 14. We're gonna talk about global digital marketing in the next chapter, but today we're gonna focus on global advertising and really how marketers focus or try to standardize their advertising so that all of this information, all of their positioning can be as standardized as possible. Of course, it doesn't always happen, but because we have those localization needs, but we try to do it as much as possible so that we can save costs. Just like with all of the other pieces, it's the same thing with advertising. So in order to unify a specific message in advertising, of course, you want to make sure that you have a strategy in place and that you know what your core product or your core service is, so that you can create an ad that can be understood in several languages, in several countries, and can be completely understood culturally and language-wise. So you have to use a strategy that helps to unify all of that positioning, and of course you have to have help. If you're expanding to other countries, you want to make sure you have an advertising agency that knows how to create those ads, and that you have good connections with those advertising agencies, because they in turn have connections. They have a global network through which they can not only create the ad but also show it, the media that it's going to be placed in. They also have that access. So you have to make sure that you understand that. And if the message cannot be adapted or localized as the least possible, and you need to have some major changes due to the market, then you have to do it and you have to make those changes. And so marketers deal with really 3 types of ads. The first type of ad, and we're going to go through all of these. The first one is called identical advertising or identical ads. And what this means is that doesn't matter where you show the ad is the same, with the exception, of course, of the language, and the voiceover has to be in the language of that can be understood by the market. And no changes are done to the creative or to the spokesperson or anything. It's just the same ad, and it's just taken to different countries. An example of that, 2 examples of that actually are Levi's. Levi's usually has very standardized advertising throughout the world, and they usually use cartoons and quirky things so that a lot of people can understand all over the world. Another company that uses that is Philip Morris, and you've seen it before, the Marlboro Man. All you have to do is see the Marlboro Man and you know that it's the cigarettes, right? You just see the cowboy and you understand that that's the message, and it's widely known all over the world, and it's something that can be standardized. So those are identical ads. The next one is called prototype advertising, a prototype ad. In this case, the formula is very similar in the advertisement. The the execution could be similar, but you have to make some changes, some adaptation, and for sure in language and culture. If there are cultural misunderstandings due to the execution of an ad, you want to make sure you address those. So if you look at the example of Dracar Noir, which is cologne for men, you could see the 2 executions here. One has the hand of a woman grabbing firmly to the wrist of the guy who's holding the cologne, and the other one is just stroking it. So there's two different, it's the same ad, the same idea, but we want to make sure to, to change certain things, to adapt certain things, because we're going to introduce it to different markets. So again, formula very similar. Execution, not execution, the cultural aspect of it has to be different to adapt. So which one do you think is the ad for France in this poster, and which one do you think is the ad for the Middle East? And we'll talk about it in class. So that's prototype advertising. So the third type of ad is the pattern standardization ad. And this is the most common one, the most common executed by companies, because markets have specific needs, and so companies have to keep in mind that you cannot send the same message everywhere. So there are certain companies that will have a unified positioning, they will have the same feel, but the execution of the actual creative might be very different from market to market, so that it's better understood, so that it takes into consideration different spokespeople, different stars, so that it takes into consideration just those differences, and what the product being sold might be different. So you might just want to use like a shell that's very similar, very similar positioning, but the execution inside the formula will there's a degree where you can make the changes there. So companies such as Under Armour, Nike, L'Oreal, you will notice that they have the same kind of feel around the world, but the execution might be different. So you might have one star, one athlete in one country, and then you have another one in a different country, because that person is more well known in that country. And that's if you're looking at the athletic wear, Under Armour or Nike. If you're taking a look at L'Oreal, you will see that the models will change from country to country. That it has the same feel for the advertisement, but the actual product and creative might be different from country to country. So there's where you have more freedom to make changes, and you have the